New 72 Radio, the voice, views, and visions of the collective.
Welcome to Talk Time with Debby
and Theresa.
We have a lot of things to go over today, and we certainly welcome you. And we thank Kelly for all her hard work on getting us on the air and getting us all organized. But anyway, we have a lot of things to talk about. And so go ahead, Theresa. My son just walked in the door.
That threw us off a bit there. Well, the first thing that we've started here at Ancient Mystic Moon is Drop-In Thursdays, which we every Thursday, every week, we're open from 9 to 3 to provide mini samples of what we do, mini sessions.
On Thursdays, we're open noon to 3.
Yeah, that's what you said.
You said 9 to 3.
Oh, that makes sense.
No, we're not going to be here at 9. We'll be here from noon to 3, and we'll be doing mini samples so that our clients and people who are just kind of wondering what we do here can get an idea of the techniques and the healing practices and the energy work that we offer to everybody.
Right, and it's $20 for 20 minutes, which is a really good price.
And we just want everybody to know that we do have something to offer for everyone. We've got reflexology, past life regressions, which I can't do in a mini session, but we've got reflexology, and we've got Reiki, angelic healing. Theresa does medium work. She can do animal communication, and she works with your angels and your guides from the other side to give you some insight.
We do runes.
And we do runes.
And some angel card readings if you want. We've got plenty of those laying around here, that's for sure.
Along with our angels and guides, yeah.
Along with angels and guides.
We're equipped.
Then the next thing, we're kind of going to go with a time, well, kind of. We are on Saturday, June 4th, from there again, noon to 3, having a drop-in open house where we will be sampling, offering free samples, mini samples of what we do again. There'll be hors d'oeuvres and just there to let people know where we're at.
And give people an opportunity to ask questions. We welcome questions and insight and ideas from people. There's always something to learn in every exchange, and so we welcome that opportunity.
Right. We're really serious at starting relationships with clientele and just with the community in general, so that people know we're here and we are available to help in any situation that you would need. One of the exciting things that we're going to have in our drop-in open house is Sue Lyon-Myrick. She is a photographer with Sue Lyon-Myrick Photography, and she's one of our guests. We're going to talk with her a few minutes here, and so it's kind of exciting. She will be doing headshots at our open house.
She does some really nice work. So anyway, so let's go ahead and bring her on. Is she out there? Oh, here she is.
There she is.
Hi, Sue. Nope. Well, there she is. She's got to undo her mic.
Okay,
hi, Sue. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you
too.
We were just explaining to our listeners that you'll be here for our drop-in open house on which Saturday? Saturday, June 4th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'd like for you, if you could, to tell us a little bit about what you're working on.
Your photography and kind of what are you doing right now?
What kind of work are you doing?
Okay. Yeah, so basically I have been doing photography for most of my life, but I started doing it more as a business a couple of years ago, but mostly on weekends and such. And then starting this year, been trying to develop it a bit more as a business, take it a bit more seriously. So I'm expanding some of my offerings, and really sort of what I like to say to people is it's kind of everything that I'm working on is sort of at the intersection between photography and spirituality or personal or spiritual growth. So that makes it pretty interesting.
Well, what is the connection between spiritualism and photography from your viewpoint?
Yeah, well, you know, there's quite a few. I used to work at a Jewish home, and the rabbi there actually, as a hobby, did photography. And one of his things that he loved to talk about was the process and how it made you have to be in the moment, and that you really had to be, you know, mindful and connected and really thinking spiritually to get good images. But for me, I think one of the things, or my epiphany, was that I like to go out and do these sort of neighborhood walks. And I like to do it, one, because when I take pictures of things that are beautiful, it helps me sort of with gratitude and mindfulness. But then when I also go and I try to take pictures of things that aren't necessarily considered beautiful, it sort of stretches that process to where I have to be able to be grateful for the things in my life that I might automatically get kind of upset about, but find a different place to acceptance and just a more spiritual space. And I just think there's a lot of room for growth for mindfulness, intuition, gratitude, and just knowing yourself better and moving along your spiritual path with photography. Both regular DSLRs and also with your cell phone.
Right.
Oh, well.
Actually, I was lucky enough to go on one of Sue's mindful walks. They're great. If you ever get a chance, look her up on Meetup. That's where you're at, right?
Yep, that's where we're at.
And it is
more with the weather warming up.
Really a super fun way to look at nature and experience a walk in a whole different viewpoint. Because it was I really enjoyed it. You do meditations, you walk, you look at things, and you actually take pictures with your cell phones too. And she gives you topics you're looking for. It's really a neat experience if you get a chance. Do a mindful walk.
That would be great.
I've seen some of your work, and I think you do really, really beautiful work. So I'm looking forward to having you here on the 4th of June. I got one more quick question for you.
Sure.
What would a photography session between you and a spiritual practitioner look like?
Well, that is a growing area also, and there's a few different things that I think that we could do together. One certainly is, I think sometimes people get tired of seeing the same stock photos sort of over and over again from the big companies, and I would love to work with local practitioners, you know, being also on a spiritual path, to kind of understand them and what they're doing and help with their own, you know, images, whether they be headshots, whether they be product shots, whether they be just spiritual artistic images that I do, or affirmational types of things, photos with affirmations on them that they might want to use in their own workspace, or say in a holistic office for the clients to be able to see and kind of connect with. So there's a lot of different things I think we can do.
Well, again, Sue, thank you so much for stopping in to say hi with us. And
Thanks.
we'll be looking forward to seeing you on June, and hopefully we'll get a lot of people in here to actually come in and see you.
Right.
We've got a really great space for you to work in. So good light.
Yeah, I'm excited for everybody to come see your space. It is a nice space.
So, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Go ahead. So that leads us to our next activity, which is automatic writing. I'm actually presenting a class Thursday, June 9th from 6:30 to 8:30. Here, it's $20. And you might want to know what automatic writing is. It's a process where you actually, through meditation and through allowing spirit guides move, or it's hard for me to explain actually, allows you to use your pen, lets creativity flow, influenced by guides and angels in the form of writing. It can be used to communicate with the lost one, some lost family member that you're wanting to communicate with, or even your higher self. If you're wanting to tune in more to your higher self, this can be used for that also.
So how did you get started with the automatic writing?
That was interesting. Actually, I started with automatic writing about 2 months after my husband passed in 2010. You need enough time for both you and your loved one to kind of adjust to your new dimensions. And it starts slow and kind of confusing, but I did have a dear friend that told me after 2 months, she would show me how to do it. And I was very interested in continuing to communicate, and must admit at first I was a little skeptical. I was a lot skeptical. Heck, let's be honest here. But there were things in the writing that just made more sense, that it was coming from the other side and that I was truly communicating. And then I was able to also help my sister in a situation shortly afterwards when her son passed. We were able to write a letter, her son and I, to give to his mother, to give those words, because so many times when somebody has left this dimension, perhaps there's something not said, or there's just that needing to know that they are whole and safe on the other side. That's a big important issue for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's really important.
So I'm offering this class. It will be just a short 2-hour class, and it's basically something that you work on. You get the bases are very simple. It's a matter of taking the time, setting time, and doing it every day, and working with it, and it will develop in time. But it does take some time. So the next thing we're going to do too is I'm going to turn this one over to Debby.
Well, I want everybody to remember that we're going to be doing the medical Reiki on July 9th and 10th here at the Ancient Mystic Moon, and Raven Keys is going to be the instructor for that class. So we do have a few openings left. So please let us know if you're interested in doing that, and we'll be sure and get you in.
Do you want to, and I will fill them in where to find it. All of the above can be found in the Facebook, on Facebook, AMM, Ancient Mystic Moon's Facebook page. We have all of these listed. Well, not yet. I need to put a few on Facebook. And all of them are also in the calendar on our website at Ancient Mystic Moon. The Reiki, you can also contact Debby Wallace at gmail.com, because as Debby said, we do have some few openings. It'd be fun to have more people. This will be an exciting adventure to bring Reiki into a doctor's office, into a surgery. And it's just something new on the Pacific Northwest. It's happening on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely happening on the East Coast.
And so
in England, yeah.
Be fun to bring it here to our side of the world. That kind of leads us into our
next guest.
Our next guest. It's kind of our main topic, which is grief recovery. We are going to have a program here June 2nd, 6:30 to 8:30. And you'll be contacting Ed. There again, I must admit, I do not have this posted on Ancient Mystic Moon's Facebook or calendar on the website, but I will have it tonight after this class, or after this radio show. So we now would like to present Ed Owens. Ed Owens is with a company, I don't remember the company name. Actually, I think it's Grief Recovery.
The Grief Recovery Method.
That's what it is. It's his method and his company. So he's, here he is. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, everybody. How are you today?
We're good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, actually, Ed just flew into LA.
I did.
And he's on his side.
I know, I'm turned sideways. I see that. I'm not sure. Here, let me turn my phone.
There you go.
I kind of like you on your head there, Ed. I like that. That's pretty good.
All right, I just had to turn my phone sideways.
Well, I noticed that you have an ebook, the Grief Recovery Method Guide for Loss.
Correct. Yeah, that it's a guide that's put out by the Grief Recovery Institute, who I'm affiliated with, and it's a series of tips and information about grief and what is grief, and things that you can say to somebody who's experiencing loss in their life, and some things to avoid not say that aren't very helpful.
Well, can you please speak to our listeners and explain what your grief recovery method is?
Sure. The grief recovery method has been around about 35 years. It was created by somebody by the name of John James. And it's been around a long time, obviously. It's all over the world. It's in Asia, it's in Europe, Africa, South America. And it's a wonderful set of tools for overcoming grief in our lives. And it's a specific process that John discovered after the death of his son in 1977.
Well, that's, can you tell us a little bit more about it? How did you exactly get started in the business? You're in the actual method. Did you have a loss or? Correct.
I did. Throughout my life, I've had an enormous amount of loss that I've experienced. But just almost 6 years ago, I lost my 3-year-old little son.
Oh boy.
And that experience completely devastated me. It altered my world. It broke my heart. And through a series of events over several years, in 2015, I was led and introduced to the grief recovery method. And introduced to these tools. And that's really what it is. It's a series of tools and some correct action steps we can take to, overcome grief. And it worked amazing for me. When I first went through this in 2015, the holidays last year, I was able to enjoy them and love and live all those wonderful memories of my son and the holidays themselves without any of the associated negative feelings that go along with grief. And I guess I should define grief. I mean, grief is a very normal and natural reaction to loss. And we all experience it. It's like when you reach out for that which has been familiar and it's always been there, only to find when you need it one more time, or you need that person one more time, they're not there. And it causes a lot of conflicting feelings and emotions within us. That's grief. And it is possible to recover from that. And I've done it with this method. And now I offer it to the community.
Well, would you say that you're talking about grief that's unresolved that people have to deal with and carry every day? Can you describe a little bit about what that unresolved grief is and what types of grief that people experience?
Sure. Unresolved grief is almost always about things we wish we'd said or done differently in a relationship, or that we wanted something that was better or more from that relationship and we didn't experience it. In any relationship we have in life, whether it's with another person, whether it's with a pet, whether it's a job, a career, it's the relationship we have with our own health, our own sense of well-being, or even trust issues. We have expectations, hopes, and dreams for any relationship in our life. And when those relationships turn out differently than we hoped and dreamed or expected, that's when we experience those conflicting feelings and emotions, because we do want that relationship, or we did want it to be something different than what it wound up as, or we wanted more time with that person, or we wanted a better outcome when it comes to the relationship that we had with that person. And when we experience those conflicting feelings, that really is unresolved grief. And there's a way to deal with that and to work through it and to recover from those feelings.
Well, then,
Well, I know that from talking with you that there are several myths surrounding grief. Can you share some of those with us?
Sure. I mean, none of them are universal, as in every person will see all of these myths in their life, but there are some that are so common, almost everybody can identify with them. One of the first ones is don't feel bad. You know, from the time like when we're little people, you know, you fall down and you scrape your knee for the first time and you go crying to mom, you know, you may hear, don't feel bad. You know, don't cry. There's all types of phrases in our society like big girls don't cry, big boys don't cry, you know. So we're reinforced constantly to not feel bad when we're experiencing something that's sad. Another one is replace the loss. Really close with that, how many people have ever heard, you know, don't feel bad. Here, you'll feel better, have a cookie.
Oof.
We're taught to sit there and replace what we're feeling. Well, we feel differently, but we don't feel better. There's a difference between those two feelings. And that same myth is so prevalent in our society. I'm sure everybody can remember the first love they ever had in their life. The first boyfriend, first girlfriend. Oh my God, it was so warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Right? It felt amazing. How do you feel, or how did you remember how you felt when that relationship ended?
oh, wow.
You felt terrible. Your heart was broken. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, you probably heard something like, it's okay, you know, don't feel bad. You'll find someone else.
Yeah.
Are there plenty of fish in the water?
Plenty of fish in the ocean. Yeah.
See, I bet you didn't realize you were dating a fish.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? So it's this huge big myth that we can replace our broken heart with something else, and we can't.
Right.
You know, each love is unique. Each relationship is so unique that there is no way to replace it. We can find somebody else. But the problem with some of these myths, like replace the loss, you know, is we come into this world as very loving entities, very loving beings. Ever look at a little child? When they're happy, their laughter is 100%. And when they bump their knee for the first time, they are 100% not happy.
Unhappy campers. Yeah.
Right. And you can tell when a little child is experiencing something, whether it's very happy and positive or it's very hurtful. It's 100%. But as we go through life, we learn these myths like replace the loss, you know, or don't feel bad, or, you know, some of the other ones. I'll talk about a couple other ones. But each time we do it, instead of being this little loving entity that is loving and trustful, each time we have an experience, well, we go into that next relationship a little less loving and a little less trustful and a little less trusting, because we're carrying around unresolved grief in our life. And until we deal with some of these things, we're going to continue to bring that unresolved grief into each relationship we have in life. Some other myths that are out there is, you know, it just takes time. How many times I was told, you know, time heals all wounds, Ed. You'll be okay in time. Well, one thing is, I think each person can sit there and look at the relationships they've had in their lives. Maybe someone who's been dead for 5, 10, 15 years. And you think about that person and you have a nice warm memory about them, but then there's also a sadness. Well,
That's true. Very true.
So what you're saying is there's really no timeline for grief.
No, there isn't a timeline for grief. You know, time by itself, it just passes. Time with some action or some steps to fix what you're experiencing can resolve it. We like to use the analogy of a flat tire. If you walk out of your house tonight, you go to the grocery store, and your tire's flat. Okay?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm with you.
does it make sense for me to sit there and say, don't feel bad, right? It just takes time. Air going to come back in your tire? Like, no. It takes me time to replace my flat tire. Or call the auto club to come and fix my tire. But by itself, time is not going to fix whatever I'm looking at.
Your flat tire.
Unless somebody threw something at you.
Right? It's not going to work. You know? I mean, there's another one about being strong. It's another common myth in our society. And it's so prevalent. I mean, I was told after my son died, or even in other losses, like when I was in the service, you know, to be strong. You know, we need to be strong for our mom, if say our dad dies, or we need to be strong for our children, you know, if they experience a loss. That doesn't work. When it comes to children, we're modeling a behavior which reinforces to them, well, act like we're recovered.
Right.
You know?
Sort of like fake it till you make it kind of a theory.
Sure, fake it till you make it. We call it Academy Award-winning behavior. Right? Because people will sit there and tell you, you know, how are you doing? Oh, I'm okay. I'm fine. No, I'm not. My heart's broken.
Right.
It's only been, maybe a week since I lost my grandmother or whatever loss I've experienced. Of course my heart's broken. But I'm going to tell you that I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm going to act like I'm strong. Well, here's a good question for you and your listeners. You know, is it more important to be truthful and be human, or to act like you're strong?
I think it's the truthfulness needs to be. I know I had a loss, and actually the first 2 weeks were so busy, I really couldn't think. There were so many things that had to be done. It was the third week when I must admit, and Debbie was there. She was there for the crying. But for everyone else, I'd say, oh, I'm doing okay. You're right. You just say, I'm doing okay.
Academy Award-winning behavior.
Well, it's hard to wear your feelings on your sleeve because there's all kinds of emotions wrapped up in that too. There's rejection. There's someone judging how long the process is supposed to take and how you're supposed to feel, and if you're feeling the same way they felt, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it seems that a lot of people do think there's a script of grieving. You do these things and then maybe you repeat them, but then it's over within X amount of time. But I know I haven't found it to be that way.
Like I said, time by itself doesn't do anything but pass. You bring up a good point. In our society, in our culture, there's some wonderful research done in 1969 on death and dying. And it was about people who were terminally ill and the stages that they go through as they are dying. Well, that same research has been misapplied to grieving in general. There are no stages of grief like there is for somebody who's experiencing their own death. Grieving over the loss of somebody who has died is a completely different experience. And it's so individual and it's so unique that every relationship and every person experiences it differently.
Right.
It's not the stages of grief like the landmark research from 1969. It's very unique.
Yeah.
I noticed on your page on Facebook that you also have a grief recovery method class for children.
Yes, I do.
What is that?
How does that work? I mean, we've got layers that we've developed as a way to protect ourselves through life, because of experiences that we've had. And children don't have that callus, so to speak, that you have to break through. So is the class take less time? Is it easier to work with children than it is to work with adults, or how exactly does that work?
Okay, well, first of all, the course is called When Children Grieve, and I don't work directly with the children. I work with the parents, grandparents, teachers, anyone who has children in their life. I work with the adults because we all know how children learn. Children learn from the adult role models in their lives. And how we model, what we say, or how we model our behavior, or how we show them how to deal with grief. And that's how they learn. So I work with parents and people that have children in their lives to discuss and to practice modeling healthy responses to grief, and then how to help a child have a conversation in which that child is able to get complete with the loss that they're experiencing. Most loss is about, those unmet hopes, dreams, and expectations for better, different, or more, but we don't communicate them. And until we learn how to communicate them in a very structured manner, which I work with parents to help them have that conversation with the children so they can express what they're feeling. Because you're right, they don't have the tools. But we are the ones, as the parents, the teachers, the grandparents, we're the ones that can give them the tools in a healthy way.
When did the grief recovery method begin? You said there was an institute that you belonged to or were affiliated with for this program?
Correct. So in 1977, John James lost his son.
Right.
And, John comes from a background in construction, but he was devastated. He was devastated at the loss of his son. And he went on a mission to try and understand, how do I feel better? There's plenty of materials out there that will talk about how we feel when we're grieving. Well, I already know, and John knew then. He knew how he felt, and it wasn't good. And when you are grieving from something, or anyone listening to this, when you're experiencing grief, you don't feel good. So what you need is, well, how do I feel better? And so, this wasn't his background, but he went on a mission to learn everything there was about grief. And then how do we recover from it? How do we get complete with the relationship in such a way that we release the negative and painful feelings and emotions, and yet we hold on to all the loving, wonderful memories and emotions? How do we say goodbye?
Yeah.
Right. I know we've talked a lot about losing people and pets. I think I was outsourced back in 2009, and I think that job loss is a big grief for a lot of people.
You're absolutely correct.
In this day and age where so many people are outsized, or companies just basically overnight almost disappear.
You're absolutely correct. The Institute, which to answer your question, it's been around for almost 35 years. So that was the last part. But on you talk about jobs, absolutely. Loss of a career or loss of a job is a grieving experience. Over 43 different types of loss have been identified by the Institute as resulting in conflicting feelings and emotions, grief. And job is just one of them. You have, obviously, the death of a loved one, but sometimes it could also be the death of someone who's not so loved, that you have painful memories with. So it can go either way. It can be the end of a relationship, such as a divorce, or perhaps it's just a romantic relationship, or you lost one of your best friends. You just drifted apart over the years. You can have other ones, loss of a pet, loss of a career or a job. You can have loss of trust. You can have loss of health. You get to a certain point and you develop a health condition, and you can't live the type of life you wanted to in the past because you're experiencing health conditions that limit you. That's also a grieving experience that can be addressed. Loss of faith, in whatever your spiritual or faith beliefs are, that can happen as well. And so and the list goes on. Moving is a loss. It's a change in a familiar pattern of behavior. And any change in any pattern of behavior in your life is a loss, and it's grief.
Well, what I find kind of interesting is that in talking with you, and you bring up all these points or grief points, or what you refer to as grief points, I don't think the general population realizes that they are grief. I mean, it's not recognized necessarily as grief, because of the way we're brought up, because I think people commonly think of grief as losing a loved one, or or maybe even losing a pet. But I can see how losing a home or losing a job, it's a loss. It's definitely
actually even in positive things. Retirement is in many forms a form of grief. And I know you mentioned that you were in the service, and I happen to know you also do grief for military families and servicemen.
Correct. And you're both absolutely correct. I mean, even retirement is a loss. Any change in a familiar pattern of behavior.
And I think that when someone is grieving, it doesn't just affect the person that's grieving. It affects your entire family. It affects all of your other relationships.
Right. Absolutely.
So I can see how important it might be to learn some skills in dealing with this, or being able to release.
Absolutely. And you could pick whatever relationship you want. Let's just say the family pet dies, and there's a mother and a father in a home, or a couple of children in the home, some good friends that are always over around the house, neighbor kids. Everybody around that pet loss, when that pet dies, that's a member of the family. Everybody has a unique, loving relationship that's very individual for each one. When I teach these classes, I always use the example of, let's just say that everybody in the room, we have the same mom, and our mother dies. All of our relationships with her were so different. It's so unique.
Yeah.
And it's really about the tools. I mean, how do we work through the tools? So let me ask you a question. So you have that beautiful wall behind you, that beautiful, beautiful statue of the angel. Right. So let's just decide that we wanted to paint that wall. Right?
Okay.
And I told you, all right, we're going to paint that wall, but you can only use a hammer and a saw and a bucket of paint. Are those the right tools to do that job?
Not so much, no.
No, they're not.
Not at all.
Would you rather have the right tools to be able to paint that wall?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I suggest when it comes to grief. With the right tools, you can work through that loss in your life. Without the right tools, it's going to be very difficult, if not near impossible, to be able to complete that job. When it comes to grief recovery, to complete that loss.
Wow. That's pretty profound, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, then I kind of want to bring us, and then you were talking earlier that you were thinking, or you're going to do something for military families?
Correct. I've been, in some of the groups I've been doing, I've had some military veterans in those, and looking at doing outreach here throughout the summer and into the fall with military families, and particularly the spouses and children of veterans. Being in the military is a difficult job on the whole family, whether it be moving, whether it be mom or dad is deployed for 4 or 6 months or a year. There's a lot of changes in familiar patterns of behavior with military families. So my plan is to do a bunch of outreach with them and to give them some of these tools to be able to work through and complete some of those unresolved losses in their lives. And they experience a lot.
If you have a military family and they go out, the military person goes out and does his thing, leaves his family behind, and then comes back, how does that work in the grief process? Because you're grieving the loss of them being gone, and then they come back, and suppose they have to go again, and then you have to grieve the loss all over again. I mean, it's like a reoccurring thing with the same kind of scenario.
Sure. Each one of those deployments is unique. my time in the service, I did 4 deployments to the Middle East myself, not counting all the times I was gone for training or for other purposes. But having a way to work through each of those using the right types of tools, identifying, or what we call discovering, what some of those unresolved or unmet expectations are, you have a way to communicate them in such a way that while you're going through them, like say during the deployment or during the separation, you have a way to express those things so that you're not experiencing so much conflicting feelings and emotions. One of the big aspects of grief is quite often it's about undelivered communications, right? So one example that I like to use is this would apply to the military families and communicating it with the member who's deploying. But let's just say that a family member was ill and had been ill for a little while, and we keep putting off calling that person or going and seeing them. Well, within 2 minutes of finding out that they're not there, one of the first things that you're going to do is remember, I kept putting off going and I didn't do it, and that's regret. And we regret the things that we did or didn't do, or we said or didn't say. In the context of a military family, or any relationship for that matter, anybody who's going to travel or be away from their loved ones, if we don't communicate what we really want to say prior to that saying goodbye at that moment, we will remember later if something happens. So teaching them how to make sure nothing is left unsaid beforehand is very important. And making sure that all of those communications are made in a way that is very, very healthy. In one of the books, there's an example of a mother who lost her child, and the last thing that she had said to her child that day was, "Look both ways, don't get hit by a vehicle." And then later on would learn that her child was killed in an accident. And her regret was she didn't say, "Have a good day, I love you," her last words. So by making sure that we identify those significant emotional statements that we want to make in a relationship and make sure that they're communicated in a healthy way, like say with mom or dad who's deploying, you make sure those things are said in advance so that nothing's left unsaid and we have nothing that's unresolved.
Right, and that is indeed good information just for everyday life. I know I have recently began texting, "I love you, have a good day," to my children, grandchildren, and a select group of friends, just because I actually started it for myself to feel better and to know that I had done this. But I've been noticing amongst my children, particularly my grandchildren, are responding in a way I didn't expect at all, in that they're communicating, and several of them are involved in situations where they're dealing with the loss of their father. It's been a year now. And so those grandchildren are actually echoing back what I have said to them, but I'm also getting this sense, this feeling that they're beginning to feel good too, in the sense that they're feeling, they're feeling a positiveness, a love that and they're getting the experience of saying, "I love you, have a good day," every day with me.
And I can't imagine what they're going through with their loss. I imagine it's heartbreaking. But I think it's wonderful that you're making sure that, those communications are being made. You're expressing how you feel.
All right.
Nothing's
like
left.
Like I said, I started it for myself because of my loss and going, I need to spread this feeling out, but I am surprised at how something so simple is developing into an emotional thing that seems to be also helping them too.
I'd go back to what we were talking about with when children grieve a little while ago. You're modeling very healthy ways to communicate. And with them going through and experiencing their own grief over their loss, you're modeling a very healthy way to respond to that.
Right. And they finally discovered that Grandma does know how to text.
That's all.
Because usually I'm calling one of them with more of a question on how do you make this thing work? So they've decided Grandma's a little bit cool there. You're going to be, we're hosting one of your classes here at Ancient Mystic Moon. Can you tell us a little bit about the class? How long will it be? Are there materials?
Yes. So we'll be doing it on Thursday nights. It's 8 sessions. It starts on Thursday, June 2nd, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. every week. So we'll go 8 weeks, 2 hours a night. And during the course, so I'll introduce and we'll discuss grief. First, what is it? What's unresolved grief? What's completion? We'll talk about some of the myths. We'll get into one of my favorite topics to discuss is STIRBs, which is short-term energy releasing behaviors. So we all engage in them. When we are feeling loss and grief in our lives, you know, the myths teach us, like, be strong, let's bottle it up. And so we bottle up everything. It's like a little pressure cooker. And every now and then, well, that energy's got to go somewhere, right? So we have a little burst of something. And so we'll talk about STIRBs and how they show up in our life. And for some people, that's food. Remember, you know, don't feel bad. Here's a cookie. You'll feel better. And so, food can be a STIRB. You feel different. You know, alcohol, drugs, retail therapy, and shopping. These are all things that we lie to ourselves that we feel better, but we just feel different. But we call them STIRBs. So we'll talk about STIRBs. We'll look at loss in your life. We'll look at one particular relationship, and then I help guide you through completion with one relationship and teach you all the tools. And at the end of the 8 weeks, you have all the tools to be able to go and do any loss in your life when you're ready to do it, and you have all the tools to do it. So that's what we do over 8 weeks. The cost of the course includes the book, the course materials, the 8 2-hour sessions, and unlimited access to me during the course. I have clients that call me all the time. I was on the phone last night, again, with a client in one of my other groups, helping her with the tool we're working on in between these 2 sessions. I'm available, and that's what I do during the 8 weeks, and help you come to completion and learn all the tools so you can do it yourself.
That sounds like it's an incredible class. I'm excited to have you come and do it at Ancient Mystic Moon and let us share. You know, we do mentoring here, life mentoring, and I really feel like that is going to add to what we do and what we can offer here to help people and help community. Ancient Mystic Moon is we're a lot about community. Community is important. The people we live with, the people that are around us, our neighbors, and the people that come in as our clients. And I feel like it's our job to help them or to do what we can to make it a better place for everybody, and actually just kind of raise the energy, raise the vibration. And I think that you're doing a wonderful job of doing that.
Right, and we have had several friends that have taken your classes, and Ed's class comes highly recommended by everyone I know who've taken the class.
Yeah, they just can't say enough about it.
Right, so I'm very excited too about this. I will have it on Facebook and Ancient Mystic Moon, particularly because you register through Ed. So I'll make certain you have that information available, and you'll be seeing it out there, more information.
And I just want to say, I am so honored and so excited to partner with you guys and be able to offer this course through Ancient Mystic Moon. It's a great, wonderful program. I can't wait to have you two in my class on the 2nd. And hopefully some other folks would like to join us, and we can put on a really healing program for the community and bring some of these tools to Ancient Mystic Moon and to the community.
I think it's great. The more the merrier. You know, I don't think we can do enough to support each other.
Right. And this is something that's really needed. I think at this time, with everything that's going on in the world, with just everything. We've got wars going on. We have politics going on. Heaven knows we need enough grief recovery on that one all on its own. But we also have the earth, and there's just so many things going on. We need to be taking a look at how we can heal ourselves and to deal with the grief, which is really affecting everything too.
It is. Grief accumulates in our lives, especially when it's unresolved, and it's always negatively accumulative. So the more we experience, the more that it builds up, and the more negative energy it brings into our individual lives and our collective lives.
Yeah. Well, we thank you very much, Ed, and we'll look forward to seeing you on June 2nd. On June 2nd, here at Ancient Mystic Moon.
Actually, tomorrow I'll probably be getting with you to get some information so we can get this out to the general public some more, see what we can do.
Did you want to post it as an event, or did you want Theresa to post it as an event?
Well, we can handle that.
You can post it on yours, and I will post it on mine as well. And I've already printed out the flyers. So whatever you need from me, please ask, and I'll provide it, and vice versa.
And the same goes for you. Let us know when you feel we could be doing a little bit more or something. Like we said, we're both very excited about offering this and look forward to offering other classes of yours here, because I think that this is something we could expand. So.
Wonderful. I look forward to it as well.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, again, it's Ed Owen, and he is on Facebook, and he will be at Ancient Mystic Moon on June 2nd, Thursday night from 6:30 to 8:30. Please join us.
For 8 weeks.
8 weeks. Yay!
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
That's almost a wrap up here.
We want to talk a little bit about what our class is going to be, or I should say what our podcast is going to be for June.
Yeah, our radio show for June. What are we doing?
What are we doing? We're going to talk about the benefits, the what's, the wherefores, and the hows of reflexology.
Both Debbie and I are reflexologists. We just finished a harrowing.
Yeah, harrowing is not the word for it. It was actually fun and very informative.
18 hours of reflexology. Believe me, in 2 days, our little brains and our feet. Of course, the feet were feeling great. Believe me.
I know mine were a little bit sore. But anyway, we're going to do we're going to have a chat, and we're going to explain all about reflexology and how it can benefit you, and different,
and what to expect in a session. And there are some different aspects. There are several ways several different types of reflexology. So we'll cover those.
And then we're going to offer in July, we haven't set the date yet, but we're going to offer in July what we call a reflexology class.
And this is a combination of reflexology and raindrop therapy using essential oils on the spine of your foot.
And you don't need to be a reflexologist to do it. You can take the class, and you can work on your significant other, or work on yourself. Actually, it's a little difficult unless you're a little bit of a contortionist, but you can work on your own feet and see the benefits, and it'll be a really fun class.
Right. This is the class where you can ask your best friend, whether it be male, female, girlfriend, boyfriend, your mom, your dad.
Moms are always good. I don't know about dads. I can't get my dad to do it.
Whoever wants their feet massaged, it's a wonderful way to approach and make your body relaxed.
Yeah.
It gives you a homeostasis that brings your body into balance. And it causes relaxation, and you will be amazed at how reflexology really addresses not only your spine, but every organ, every system in your body is on the bottom of your foot.
It is not massage.
There is nothing massage. This is not going to a massage to get a pedicure or whatever. It is much different, and we will be gladly sharing it.
That'll be fun. That'll be a really fun class. I'm looking forward to that one.
It will be fun.
Because we get to share not only the reflexology and showing students how to use but we're also showing them the benefits of using the essential oils as well.
Right. We will be using the everyday kit.
Yeah,
So
healing,
we'll be-
healing.
Lots of healing, lots of relaxation. It will be a fun class. And I think that the radio show will be fun too, because we'll be able to bring out a lot of information. I am a Washington State certified reflexologist and a national member of the American Reflexology Certification Board. And Debby is working on the International Institute Reflexology Certification.
So we'll get there.
We'll get there.
So anyway, we'd like to do a special thank you to Kelly from News 72 Radio. I guess that's the radio blog. She's News 72 Media.
Because she's doing many other things. We wouldn't be here without Kelly, that's for sure. She's this is her dream, her portal, her way of providing for our community to get out there and
to raise the collective,
and to raise the
collective vibration. Kelly has a wonderful, she calls it the portal of awareness.
Right.
And if you haven't gotten out there to listen to that, it is an incredible opportunity to just sit in silence and peace and
to hold an intention that everyone is holding at that moment. And there's one regarding Gaia or Mother Earth and how
Sunday mornings.
On Sunday morning, 7 a.m. I know it's early, but
it's worth
that.
It. Yeah, it's
and
really
then
worth the
Mary
time.
Berger through News 72 Media also has a portal of awareness. It's regarding an intention of helping solve technical issues. And believe me, I need to watch hers because I am not a technical person. She is starting her business. She has Computer Diva, is her company, and her portal of awareness is at 7 a.m. on Monday mornings. But there again, it's an intention to use energy to help resolve technical issues with any of your technical equipment, computers, laptops, phones, tablets, anything that plugs in and has a chip.
There you go. Okay, and thank you all again for checking in and listening to us. And we'll see you next month on
June 16th.
June 16th with reflexology.
With reflexology.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Blessings.
Blessings.